Have you ever been laying awake at night trying to fall asleep, but your mind keeps replaying a conversation on a loop? Maybe you keep going back to what you said, or what the other person said, what you wish you would have said differently, or what you think the other person may have really meant. And before you know it, significant time has passed by, and you're still awake, still going over the same conversation or situation. And even though you may truly want to rest, your mind and body feel way too wound up to even think about relaxation. And that's one of the most frustrating things about overthinking. A person may know that they're overthinking, but knowing does not always stop the continuous loop from replaying. Hi, I'm Jasmin Braithwaite, and today I want to talk about how overthinking can become an automatic subconscious pattern, why it can feel so difficult to interrupt with logic alone, and how hypnosis can help the mind begin practicing different responses. Overthinking is often just more than thinking too much. Sometimes the mind is scanning and preparing, rehearsing and predicting because it's trying to protect you in some sort of way. But what starts out as protection can eventually become exhausting, especially when the mind begins treating imagined conversations, imagined outcomes, or unresolved experiences as if they require an emotional response right now. That's where hypnosis becomes relevant. Hypnosis works with the subconscious mind, where many automatic patterns are learned, reinforced, and repeated. So when someone says, I know I'm overthinking, but I still can't seem to stop, that may be a sign that the pattern is not only happening at the conscious level, it may also be conditioned. And when a pattern has been learned at that deeper level, change often requires more than simply telling yourself to stop. It may require helping the mind experience safety, calm, and new responses in a different way. So let's look at the difference between thinking through and overthinking, why the mind can get stuck in these mental loops, and how hypnosis can help support a different relationship with uncertainty, rumination, and automatic thought patterns. Before we go any further, I want to make a distinction between thinking things through and overthinking. Thinking things through can be very useful. It helps us plan, make decisions, organize our thoughts, consider possible consequences, and decide what our next steps might be. There's nothing wrong with being thoughtful, reflecting on something, preparing for something, or wanting to make a wise decision. Overthinking is different because it usually becomes more repetitive. The mind keeps circling around the same concern, the same conversation, or the same fear, or the same possible outcome without moving towards clarity or resolution or a plan. It may sound like, what if I said the wrong thing? Or what if they took it the wrong way? Or what if this doesn't work out? Or what if I make the wrong decision? Or what if something happens that I'm not prepared for? Or what if this? What if that? What if? And instead of helping you feel clearer, the thoughts keep looping over and over again. The more they repeat, the more mentally drained you might feel, almost as if your energy is slowly being used up by a situation that still has not yet been resolved. And that's one of the differences. Thinking things through usually helps you to move forward with a decision, an action, or a better understanding. Overthinking often helps the mind stay active, but the nervous system still never feels settled. You may be thinking, analyzing, replaying, predicting, and preparing, but inside, there may still be tension, there may still be uncertainty, and there may still be that feeling that you cannot quite relax yet. And that distinction matters when you're talking about hypnosis, because hypnosis is not about taking away a person's ability to think or make decisions or making someone careless or passive or unaware. Hypnosis is more about working with the automatic patterns beneath the thinking. So when someone says, I know I'm overthinking, but I can't seem to stop, that tells us something really important. The issue may not be that the person doesn't understand the situation. It might be that the mind has learned to keep scanning, rehearsing, and preparing automatically. And that is very different from simply choosing to think something through. Usually, there is a reason the mind falls into the overthinking loop in the first place. Sometimes overthinking begins when something does not settle well in the mind, or it may be a conversation, an event, a disappointment, a conflict, a painful experience, or something that just didn't go as smoothly as expected. The mind starts trying to make sense of things. It may replay what happened, search for what was missing, look for what could have been done differently, or try to understand why the situation affected you the way it did. So, overthinking is not about being prepared for the future. Sometimes it is also the mind trying to resolve something from the past or present that still feels unfinished internally. Other times, overthinking is connected to uncertainty about what might happen in the future, what might happen next. If uncertainty feels uncomfortable, the mind may begin scanning for every possible outcome. And sometimes it searches for the worst possible outcome and gets stuck on that and begins to really worry. It scans for mistakes, rejection, disappointment, conflict, embarrassment, or anything that could go wrong. The mind may think, if I think this through every possible outcome, I won't be caught off guard. If I replay the conversation enough times, I can figure out what I missed. If I prepare for the worst, maybe I just might feel safer. If I analyze this, maybe I'll eventually find the right answer. So even though overthinking may feel exhausting, it can still create a temporary sense of doing something about it. It may not bring peace or real resolution, but it can still create a temporary feeling of preparedness, understanding, or control. And if the mind begins to associate that temporary feeling with safety, it may keep repeating the pattern. This is one of the reasons overthinking can become so frustrating. The conscious mind may say, I know this is not helping me. But another part of the mind may still be saying, keep scanning, keep replaying, keep preparing, keep trying to prevent something painful from happening again. At that point, overthinking begins to move beyond simple thought. It becomes a protective strategy for the mind. And because the pattern is familiar, it can also become strangely comforting. And I don't mean comforting in the sense that it brings peace. I mean comforting in the sense that the mind recognizes it. The mind knows how to scan, it knows how to replay and how to prepare. And even when that pattern creates stress, it may still feel safer than doing nothing at all. Once the mind has learned a protective and familiar strategy, it may continue using it, even after that strategy starts creating more stress than the relief. So that's a hard habit there. Once the mind has used overthinking as a way to make sense of something, prepare for something, or feel safer in some sort of way, the pattern can begin to repeat. At first, overthinking may seem connected to one specific situation, a conversation that didn't feel right, or maybe a decision that felt uncertain, or an experience that left you feeling unsettled. A moment where you wish you had responded differently, but the mind learns that replaying, scanning, preparing, or analyzing gives even a temporary sense of control. That strategy may begin turning into an automatic response. Then the next uncertain situation or uncomfortable conversation comes up, and the mind starts scanning and replaying or trying to predict what might happen next. The next decision comes up, and the mind starts weighing every possible outcome. And over time, that way of thinking can become more and more fixed in the mind, a hard habit, almost like a mental groove the mind keeps falling back into over and over again. That's how overthinking can become automatic. The person may not consciously decide, I'm going to overthink this now. It just starts happening. The mind begins running the pattern because it has practiced that pattern before. From the outside, it may look like the person is choosing to worry or choosing to analyze or stay stuck in their thoughts. But internally, it may feel more like the mind has already taken off before the person has had a chance to pause. That's why overthinking can be so frustrating. It kind of just happens on its own after a while. A person may understand that the thought loop is draining or that replaying the situation is not going to change what happened whatsoever. They may even understand that imagining every possible outcome is not necessarily helping them feel safer. But understanding the pattern doesn't always interrupt the pattern. By the time the person notices it, the subconscious mind may already be running a familiar response. And sometimes you hear people say, why did I do that? How did I do that? And that's where hypnosis becomes important. Hypnosis works with that automatic level of the mind by helping the mind practice a different response before the old pattern takes over. When overthinking has become automatic, a change is not only about telling yourself, stop thinking about this. It's about helping the mind and nervous system learn that there are other ways to respond to uncertainty and discomfort and unfinished emotional experiences. The goal is not to take away thought. The goal is to create more choice around that thought. So instead of the mind immediately replaying, scanning, and predicting and or preparing, there can be a moment where something different becomes possible. One reason overthinking can feel exhausting is that the mind and body may respond to imagined or replayed situations as if they need attention right now. A person may be sitting safely at home, but internally, the mind is rehearsing the conflict, rejection, failure, disappointment, or uncertainty that they perceived. Or the mind may be replaying something that already happened, a conversation, a mistake, a painful moment, a situation that felt unfinished. The situation may not be happening in real time, but the emotional response can still feel very real in the moment. The body might respond with tension, a faster heartbeat, or shallow breathing, even. The nervous system generally just becomes more activated. And whether the mind is replaying something from the past or rehearsing something that may happen in the future, the body can still respond as if that inner experience requires attention right now. That's one of the hidden costs of overthinking. The mind is not only thinking about possibilities or memories, it is emotionally rehearsing them. And when the mind repeatedly replays or rehearses something with fear, regret, or uncertainty or emotional intensity attached to it, the nervous system may begin responding as if that inner experience needs attention right now. This is why overthinking can leave someone feeling so drained. The conversation, outcome, or problem that may not have even happened yet, or if something already happened, the mind may still be replaying it as if there's something left to solve. Either way, the mind and body may have already spent energy responding to it. From a hypnosis perspective, this matters because the subconscious mind responds strongly to imagination and emotion and repetition and focused attention. And that's part of why hypnosis can be so effective. And it's also part of why overthinking can feel so powerful. When the mind keeps imagining a feared outcome or replaying an unresolved experience with emotion attached to it, the subconscious may begin treating that inner experience as important. The subconscious is not necessarily checking in with whether the outcome is actually true or whether the person wants it to actually happen or whether the past can be changed by replaying it. It's responding to the focus, the emotion, and the repetition. In hypnosis, we can use that same natural capacity of the mind in a more supportive direction. Instead of replaying and repeatedly practicing fear, danger, and regret or disappointment, The mind can be guided to practice steadiness, calm, confidence, and a different internal response. That doesn't mean pretending challenges don't exist. We know that they're there. It means giving the mind and the nervous system a different experience to practice. At some point, overthinking can shift from feeling like preparation to becoming part of what keeps a person stuck. In the beginning, the mind may be trying to understand, prepare, protect, or make sense of something. The mind may be trying to understand, but after a while, the loop can begin creating its own kind of limitation. A person might keep thinking about starting something new, but never actually begin. They may be preparing for a conversation over and over again, but avoid having it. They might weigh every possible outcome and still struggle to make a decision. Or they might keep replaying something that already happened, trying to find the moment within that situation where things could have gone differently. Sometimes the mind keeps returning to an old conversation or an old mistake, an old disappointment, or a painful experience, hoping that more analysis will finally make it feel resolved. And we all know the answer to that. It doesn't. That's where overthinking um, can start affecting your real life. It can delay action, create hesitation, feed perfectionism, or keep something mentally attached to something that has already happened. It can also cause someone to cancel an idea altogether before they have even given themselves a chance to try it. And sometimes the person may believe they are being careful, thoughtful, or responsible, when what is really happening is that their nervous system is trying to avoid discomfort. The mind may say, "Don't move until you know exactly how this will turn out," or "Don't try until you know you'll do it perfectly." Don't speak until you know exactly how the other person will respond. Or it might say, "Keep replaying this until you understand it and understand exactly how it happened," like you're grilling yourself. Keep going until you figure out what you should have done differently. Keep analyzing this until it finally feels settled. But life doesn't usually offer complete certainty, and the past doesn't always become peaceful. Just because the mind keeps replaying it, so the person may feel mentally active but internally stuck. They may be thinking, planning, analyzing, replaying, and rehearsing, but not actually feel clearer, calmer, or more resolved. That's one of the hidden ways overthinking can keep a person in the same place. It can create the feeling that the mind is doing something important, preparing for what might happen, or trying to resolve what already happened, while the person remains caught in the loop on replay. And that's instead of feeling present and settled or free to respond differently. And from a hypnosis perspective, this matters because the subconscious mind often learns through experience. If the mind never gets to experience trying, adjusting, learning, responding, recovering, or releasing, if it's never given that chance, then it may keep replaying on mental rehearsal instead. The mind may keep practicing the loop instead of practicing a new response. So the issue is not that the person lacks intelligence or awareness. That's rarely the case. The issue may be that the mind has learned to treat uncertainty and discomfort or unresolved emotion as something that must be mentally solved before the person can feel safe enough to move forward. And hypnosis can really help by working with that automatic response. Hypnosis can help the mind begin to experience uncertainty, discomfort, and unresolved emotions differently, so the person can move through those experiences with more steadiness, flexibility, and trust in their ability to respond. Because not every uncomfortable feeling has to be solved immediately, and not every unresolved experience has to be replayed over and over again before the mind is allowed to settle. That is where hypnosis and hypnotherapy fit into the conversation. When overthinking has become an automatic pattern, the answer is not always as simple as telling yourself to stop thinking about it. A person may already know they're overthinking. They may already understand that the loop is draining them. They may already realize that replaying the past or rehearsing the future is not helping them feel more settled. But if the subconscious mind has learned to use overthinking as a protective and familiar or comforting strategy, it may keep running in the background automatically, almost like a computer program that starts up on its own when you first turn on your computer or laptop. Hypnosis works with that automatic level of the mind. That's the good news. In hypnosis, the mind is guided into a focused, receptive state, similar to the way attention can become absorbed. When you are deeply relaxed and listening closely, imagining something vividly, or settled into a quiet inner focus. That gives the subconscious mind an opportunity to experience something different. Instead of practicing the same loop, the mind can begin practicing a different response. That might look like experiencing a more calm where there was once tension, more steadiness where there was once uncertainty, or a sense of safety that does not depend on mentally scanning every possible outcome. It may also mean allowing the mind to release the need to replay something over and over again before it can settle. And that's one of the reasons hypnosis can be helpful for automatic mental patterns. It gives the mind and the nervous system an opportunity to learn that there are other ways to respond. This does not mean forcing the mind to go blank, pretending the concern doesn't matter, or telling someone to simply stop overthinking. It means working with the automatic response so the person can begin experiencing more space, more choice, and a different internal reaction. In hypnotherapy, the goal is often to help the person create a more internal choice. So instead of the mind immediately going into replay, scanning, predicting, or preparing, there can be a pause. There can be a little more space. There can be an opportunity to respond differently. And over time, that different response can become more familiar too. The same mind that learned to overthink, rehearse fear, or stay caught in the loop can also learn to return to calm, rehearse steadiness, and step out of the loop with more awareness. That's the hopeful part. The way the mind responds now does not have to be the way it responds forever. So if overthinking is something you recognize in yourself, it may help to understand that it is not always a sign that something is wrong with you. The mind may be trying to make sense of something that did not settle well. It may be trying to prepare for something uncertain. It may be trying to protect you from discomfort, disappointment, conflict, or regret. And if the mind has practiced that loop for a long time, it may start running automatically. But automatically does not mean permanently. The mind can learn to replay, scan, rehearse, and prepare. And with a different kind of practice, the mind can also learn to settle, pause, release, and respond differently. That's one of the reasons hypnosis can be such a helpful tool. It gives the subconscious mind a different experience to practice. So the person is not only trying to think their way out of a pattern, but beginning to experience a new internal response. Overthinking may feel protective and familiar or even comforting in the moment, but the goal is not to fight the mind. The goal is to help the mind recognize that it has more than one way to respond. And the way the mind responds now does not have to be the way it responds forever. If you're interested in learning more about hypnosis, subconscious patterns, and how the mind creates change, please consider subscribing to this channel. I share weekly hypnosis education for people who are curious about how the mind works, how subconscious patterns form, and how hypnosis can help support change. And if this topic feels familiar to you and you are interested in exploring hypnotherapy support, you can find the link to schedule a session in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.